The good old clap, take one.
That's right.
How many of you knew what you wanted to be when you were 7 years old? I did. I wanted to be world champion.
Hey, is there honesty involved in this podcast? Can we be honest?
You can shut your fucking lips.
And then I'll just say, put them up, what? Let's go.
He's like, you look too pretty on the wave. Get ugly.
We can talk about DMT if you want.
I thought we were boxing.
All right. Happy New Year, everyone. The lineup is back, and we have none other than the 2009 then ASP World Junior Champion. You won it at 17 years young, a longtime campaigner on the qualifying series, then the Challenger series, and now a 2023 Championship Tour rookie on the eve of the start of the season. Maxime Huscenot, thanks so much for joining us on the lineup for our first episode of 2023.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and discussing with you and with the team, and it's awesome. I mean, what a life.
Well, it's our pleasure, and as someone who's, man, you've been around a long time. I've been around a long time. I've followed your career so closely. I'm excited to talk today. Before we get going, a bit of a scene setter. Where are you recording from today? Where are you at?
Yeah. So right now I'm in Réunion Island. So this is where I'm raised, and I'm not born here. I born in France, but I got here when I was 2 years old. So I pretty much grew up my entire life here. So right now I'm in Réunion Island.
Right. And obviously, we've spoken to Johanne Defay before, and Jeremy Flores is someone whose connection to Réunion Island. And haven't heard a lot about it in recent years, but obviously there was a huge issue with sharks and shark attacks for a number of years for a location that has fantastic surf. It's hosted championship tour events in the past. What has it been like there lately? I mean, you've been there for a while. You obviously have a close connection to the place. Do you feel comfortable surfing? You've been surfing over the break. What's the feeling on the island there?
Yeah. Obviously, we had about 10 years ago the first few shark attacks and the disaster with the shark crisis we got through. Obviously, we had a lot of problem issues that bring the shark around the coast, and it makes the huge clash between the surfers and the people of the ocean and the sharks. And obviously we couldn't go in the ocean anymore. It was not like a safety place, and was completely with a lot of sharks in the water, and was very dangerous for years. But we slowly, with the years, improve all these problems and react to all of those problems, and try to slowly find solution and make the best environment for both sharks and surfers and people in the ocean. So we are getting there slowly. There's been the last 5 years with a lot of improvement, a lot of testing. So different security things that happen. There's obviously there was some study on the sharks. There's been a few fishing. There's been some sharks repellent. I think in English it says
repellent.
RPI, air repellent. So it's like system on the board, electric system. So there's a few testing things, and then there is a few different systems that allowed us to surf. So the last few years been a lot of improvement, and we feel a lot more safe to go in the water nowadays than the last few years.
Right.
So we are very happy just to be able to enjoy the ocean on our island, because it's just a paradise.
Of course. That's great to hear. And did you surf today? And if so, where'd you surf?
Yeah, I did surf. I surfed in the south, in Saint-Pierre. You know that ride that Jordi make it famous? Surfing so good there.
Yeah, the one by the harbor there, yeah? Yeah.
Exactly. The one they made you there with Julian, and they did the Modern Collective film before. So I surfed there. I haven't surfed there for like 12 years, so it was pretty cool. Like I went back the last 3 days.
Oh,
there.
That's cool.
Yeah. that was awesome.
That's good. Well, we're gonna pause on reunion. I'm sure we'll get back to it in the next segment.
Yeah.
But back to the point, you know, after a decade, maybe more, on the qualifying series and the Challenger series, you've now made it to the Elite Championship Tour. You clinched at the final event in Hale Eva. What were your thoughts heading into that final event, and how did it feel to come out of the water, be greeted by Travis Logie, and confirm that you've made the Dream Tour?
Yeah, that was pretty heavy. Obviously, doing it for a lot of years, I knew the pressure of being in Hawaii and having to do it there. And I think it was 2015 and 16, I had the same thing, like being in the top 10, going to Hawaii, and I just blew it there. And since there, I was always like, I need to be much better in Hawaii, and I need to focus there to do my best result in Hawaii. So I started to focus on that. The other years was my best result there, but I wasn't doing anything during the year on the other part. So this year I felt like I was just doing everything right. So I was just thinking all I need to do is just repeat the same thing that I was doing right in Hawaii, and it will do it good for me. But it felt like the Challenger Series make the pressure much higher than the other years, because everyone could follow the tour. Everyone knew about the ranking, each event, and the whole situation the whole year. So it felt like the pressure was even higher than all the other years. And I was just like super happy to be able to handle all that and still perform in Hawaii and still get a result and make it happen in the world. That was very special.
You know, that's interesting. You mentioned that the pressure felt higher because of the new Challenger Series and everyone was focused on it. But I've had a few conversations with different people, and they've said that yes, there's more pressure, but it's less random than it used to be. And in the sense that now you have the regional qualifying series, and then people use that to get onto this global Challenger Series where the waves are a bit better. It's sort of a fixed set of competitors. So it kind of eliminates that randomness. And people have actually brought you up. They've brought up, you know, Ian Gentile and Ramsey Bukiam as sort of examples of these are people that kind of got lost under the previous system because it was so random, but they're world-class talents. And this new system of the Challenger Series has actually allowed them to, it's been a bit more stable for their talent to flourish. Would you agree with that, or? Yeah,
a lot more. I mean, obviously, if I compare to all my other years, like there's a lot of years where I lost qualification because I lost to Philippe in Huntington or Italo in Balito and some other guys in different country, and you kind of get lost with all these different events, and you don't understand what's going on, why he's having points and not, or what's going on. With this contest, with always the same people and the same wage, we were like always compared to each other the whole year. So it was really like who was the best surfer out of all these events against each other, with no one interfering really, even if there was a few events at the end that the guys interfered, but it wasn't that much during the year. So it felt a lot more rivalry a bit between everyone, and was more about who is the best out of the Challenger. And before was more like who was getting the points on the qualification, and there was so many events with so many guys, and it was just like a lot confusing, I felt like. Which this year felt a lot more like we get a group, we all get against each other, and we'll see who's the best out of this group. And it felt like that's what looks like a little bit more.
I agree, and as someone was a fan, and now I've been reminded by LinkedIn, this is now my 18th year at the company. Like, I think it's one of the more exciting qualifying classes we've seen in a long, long time. You know, I mentioned at the top you won the 2009 World Junior Championships at 17 years old, and our episode, the first of the year, is actually dropping during the window for the Sambazon World Junior Championships hosted by Best Western, which is going to be at Seaside Reef in San Diego. Would you say that, winning the 2009 WJCs, you were the first European to claim the men's world title. Would you say that essentially started the pressure for you to qualify? Would you say that like winning that event changed everything in your life, and now it was like, okay, now you have to qualify?
Yes, it did it in a way. It's changed more about the people around me. Before I was, when I was 16, I won the King of the Grubs, which was kind of like the World Junior things back then. And I won the European Junior Secret. So I was doing all those things really young, and everyone was kind of like, wanted me to follow Jeremy's path. And everyone was like, You're doing it younger than him, so you just got to keep going. And when I won the World Juniors, as I got wildcard for all the QS events, everyone was like, oh, you need to go. You should go there. You can qualify. Jeremy did it. You do it better than him, even younger. So you should go out there and keep going. And it kind of like almost pushed me like too young to go there. But in a sense, like, so it kind of like put me on the map, that title. And I was just an underdog. No one really knew about me except people from Europe. But on the world stage, this contest really like put me on the map and on the surfing world. But from there, it felt like everyone then was expecting me to qualify like in the next 2 years, which was a little bit like...
Of course, yeah.
I mean, it's not that easy for every junior to get your body and your level ready. Because I feel like there's the junior level, the QS level, the top challenger that qualify, the CT, the top 10, the top 5. I mean, the world title, every stage felt like a different level. And then sometimes people think like you on the top of one level, you can already move to the next one. But it's not really working always like that in a way.
Right.
So I would say like, when I won that thing, everyone was expecting me to already qualify. That's pretty crazy.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up too, right? Because we talk about that a lot, where surfing's always progressing, and sponsors and the media and social media and web clips and everything, they love young, exciting, the tip of the spear on progressive surfing, which a lot of young surfers, yourself included, have been sort of at the vanguard in the past. But I'm sure you agree with this. We've seen it time and again where jumping from the juniors to the QS, people don't appreciate physically like how much bigger the surfers are, stronger, faster, how technical they are. And then even from the QS to the CT, it's sort of another level, as you pointed out, like there's levels to it. So winning the World Junior Championships at 17 is great. It put you on the map. But as you said, it's like that pressure isn't really fair for like a young person who probably hasn't even physically matured into an adult yet to do it so quickly.
Yeah, that's really what happened to me. Like, obviously, the junior also is, I would say, judging on the really technical side, which was what I was doing really good. And when you get on the QS, the physical part gets more into it with the technical part, and you need to mix both. And the tactic is very different as well. And you get all these experienced surfers that have really good strategy in every kind of condition. So there's all this mix that when you're a junior, sometimes you didn't face yet, and you get all this information straight away, and it's just something new that you're restarting, and sometimes it's just take more time than others like to just get into that all knowledge of the QS, because it's completely different than the juniors. Like, obviously, if you look at the QS, even this year, everyone that qualify is pretty much of my age, my generation, I would say, except Rio and Leo that are a little bit younger, but all the others are around my age. And if you think about it, that's mean like if I'm facing an 18 years old guy, is facing juniors that been doing it for 12 years. So we have juniors every year for 12 years. So we can have 12 different champions for each different years and facing on the QS at the same time. So that's all this this mix of guy, and it feels like sometimes you get one title at one age, but then you get on the big stage, it's everyone is there. So it's completely a much bigger pack.
No, I think that's a really good point. And we mentioned that this year's Sambazon World Junior Championships is going to be at Seaside Reef. The 2009 event that you won was at North Narrabeen, and you beat in that event Owen Wright, Nat Young, Alejo Munoz, and Jadson Andre to win the title. All surfers who have gone on to make a huge impact on the championship tour. And winning that event for you etches your name alongside the likes of other past WSL junior champions like Andy Irons and Joel Parkinson, Adriano D'Souza, Jordy Smith. So as you pointed out, like, you were probably well known regionally before that event, but that event, winning it, like, transformed your identity on the international stage.
Yeah, fully, completely. I mean, I'm not sure. I have to check it again, but I felt like everyone that I beat that year qualified. So I was like, wow.
That's got to feel good though, right? You're like, I can do it. No problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
2 years? I'm going to do it in 1 year. What are you talking about? Yeah.
Maybe I helped them mentally to get there. I don't know, but it was pretty crazy. And, And the year before, I bet also Dusty Payne that almost won the Triple Crown, and I was like, wow, I beat all those guys in Narrabeen, so I mean, I definitely can do it. But then I was just I don't know. I think I was just in the rhythm with Narrabeen, and I did just amazing events, and I had the potential is there, but then on the QS was a different things, and it just took it a little bit longer, but. Obviously, I just didn't quit in my potential, and I got it.
I love it. Well, we're gonna in the next segment we're gonna go back and go through some of those gaps, but back to qualifying, just to round out that conversation. Yeah. What happens for you after Hale Eva in December? We know you're in Reunion now, but what do you do? Where do you go? Did you party? Did you train? Did you travel? Did you rest? Knowing that just in a few short weeks, the show is going to start with the Billabong Pro Pipeline. Like, what was your kind of routine after Hale Eva?
Yeah. So the night right after the event, I had a few beers, and I was like, oh, I wanted to have a good night. And I was already thinking, but wait, pipe is like soon, so I might just not do it. So I was kind of like in a confused mode. Like, I didn't party the whole year, and I was like, the contest is already next month, so I can't really do it too. So I was like just having a few beers, and I enjoyed the moment. But then the next day I was already thinking like, okay, I need to start to think of my boards and how I'm going to get ready, and where is the schedule for the events, because I didn't look at it. I was focusing on trying to do it right in Hale Eva. I was not projecting myself on tour yet. And so I had to look again on the schedule and which travel I needed to do. So I stayed a couple of days in Hawaii. I just got a few waves, and it was pretty cool. Just to surf on the relaxed mode and get a few bars at Pipe and surf Sunset and other places, Rockies, and so it was cool. And then I went back to Europe for a week. I went to Portugal and France a little bit. It was pretty freezing. And then I got back in the rain. Yeah. And then I got back to Réunion, and I had a good celebration with my family and friends that were coming really big here. I was pretty cool. Did a lot of TVs and media things. And then I start to enjoy Christmas and all these New Year's, but start to get ready as well physically. And I slowly starting to surf again the last week, like get back to it.
Interesting. So do you, and I know everyone's different, do you go through periods where you'll have a day or several days or a week where you go, no, I'm not surfing. It's just boards down, I'm going to reset, I'm going to do something else? Or are you the kind of person that has to surf every day?
I like to surf every day, but obviously the last 2 years I start to slow down a bit on a few days. Like I'm taking some days off where I'm not surfing. I'm taking some moments with just enjoying my time with my wife as well. And I just find out that I'm a lot better if I just reset a little bit, relax, and get back to it. That sometimes always into it doesn't feel right for me, but I don't get much day off. I would say like once, like not once a week, but once every 2 weeks. Like, so it's not that much. But I surf all the time.
Yeah,
I surf,
well, it makes sense.
I surf
like,
2 or 3 times a day.
Right. Yeah. So you keep up. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, I keep up.
Interesting to hear. We're gonna take a quick break to get a word in from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. So before the break, we talked about you're in Réunion Island. That's a place that feels like home for you, but actually born in France, which is your other home. But tell us about that. What was your family like? Mom, dad? Do you have brothers, sisters? Like, and what was it like early on growing up? And was it in France? Was it in Réunion? Was it a mixture of both?
So I born in France, and then I arrived in Réunion. I was 2 years old, so I was a baby, and we moved with my parents and my sister. I have an older sister, and I grew up my entire life in Réunion Island. So I did all my years of schools here, and my parents always lived here. My sister never moved. My parents never moved, and I moved to France when I was about 18 years old, I think. That's where I bought a place there, and I started to go there all the time. I was just coming back to Réunion for Christmas and New Year to spend time with my family, but the entire year I was living in France and doing the whole tour from France. So my place is in Cap-Breton in Osogor. So I always base my place there. So I'm doing a bit both.
Interesting. And so why did your parents move to Réunion? What were they doing there?
So my dad was working as a AC. Is that how you call the AC cold things?
Yeah, air condition.
Air condition. Yeah. And as well as as well as fridge, so all these kind of things. So he was electrician. That's how we say in France. I'm not sure in English, but yeah. So
same.
he has this job, and he had an opportunity in Réunion. So he decided to go there. He could. We are from next to Lyon, so which is around the Alps, which is the southeast of France. So I've never been there. I mean, I've been there once in my life, but so he's from there, and so he decided to move to Réunion because he loved the place, and he could choose between the Caribbean, between Osogor or Biarritz and Réunion, and he decided to go to Réunion, and with my mom, and we just all moved here, and we just never lived.
Lucky you. And you mentioned going to school there. What did your dad surf? Did you have friends? How did you get into surfing? And did you do other things like soccer or anything? Cricket?
Yeah. I was doing soccer when I was young. My dad was a soccer player, so it was a lot easier, and everyone playing soccer in France. I just had 2 left foot, so it wasn't really for me, but I was just, that's what we say in France, like if you have like 2 bad foot. But so I get into surfing because my parents were divers. So once they were going on the weekend to dives, they were dropping my sister and I to a school I mean, not a school, was a club and a sporting club.
Yep.
That was next to the harbor, and they were doing a lot of sports. So we had soccer, tennis, basketball, a lot of different things, and there was surfing as well. So I get into surfing like that, and I just starting with a little bodyboard, and I was just standing on the bodyboard, doing 360s and getting on the waves, following the wave, and then the guys like, why you're not surfing on the board? It's much easier than just on the bodyboard that is sliding. So I just end up starting surfing like that, and I got into surfing that way. It was pretty cool.
Well, now that's interesting because I've obviously watched you surf, and you are incredibly athletic and coordinated and an amazing surfer. And it sounds like you took to surfing even on a bodyboard pretty well at an early age. But then you said you have 2 left feet when you play soccer. Are you one of those people who is not very coordinated on land, but you get in the water and you're like a different creature? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, no, I wasn't that bad in football, but I was not going to be the new Mbappe, that's for sure. But I was just like, it was, I don't know. I felt so good in the water that I just wanted to be in the water all the time. And since I started to surf, I just never stopped it. It's pretty crazy to think back. I just never thought 1 second about stopping surfing, and I never thought about something else. It felt like since I started surfing was everything got out of my way, and it was just that feeling that I wanted to get all the time. Yeah. And I get everything quick. I started when I was like 9 years old, which could feel a little bit late nowadays. This guy starting at 3, but sure. Back then was kind of early. Yeah. But yeah, I started at 9 years old, and I when I was about 10 years old, I already started to compete, and I got good quite quick. I was beating guys that was 12 years old in Réunion Island, and I've got seen by good clubs on the island that wanted to support me and try to help me. And then back then we had which called it's not a French team, but it was a Réunion Federation that had a team. They were picking the best surfers at a young age, and they make a group, and they were making a deal with the school that every day we could leave the school 2 hours earlier than most of the other guys, so we could go out and surf and train. So I was on this program with all of the other young guys, and couple have hit the QS. I mean, there was Romain Croat, Hugo Savali, Mehdi Veminardi, there's Adrien Toyon, there's a couple of those guys that hit on the QS. We were all part of this group. When I was young, Johanne Defay started with me as well on this group. And so we were like like 10, 12 kids. So it was pretty cool. We pushed each other for a while. That was cool.
Yeah. That's it. That's a good deal, getting pulled out of school 2 hours early to get trained to surf.
That was cool. Yeah, that was sick.
You know, you mentioned a few names there, many of them recognizable, and it does seem that, you know, you could start surfing, you could be really, really good, but having good waves like you have in Réunion Island, and maybe more importantly, a strong community to help you get good is important. You mentioned Johanne Defay. You know, Jeremy Flores is another surfer that has a close connection to Réunion Island. You know, how much of an impact, I guess specifically with Johanne and Jeremy, did they have on you at a young age? Did you know them? You mentioned training with Johanne, but did you know Jeremy very young, or was he someone you were watching from a distance? What was the deal?
So when I started and was young, I just watched him from distance because he was not on the island anymore, and I just never get the chance to meet him. And it was pretty funny because I went on a trip with my parents in Australia when I was 11, and I just dreamed to go to Snapper because I was watching Taj Burroughs movies, Montage, Mick Fanning, fire. What's the movie? I don't remember.
Fanning the fire.
Whatever. Yeah, finding the fire.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to go there and surf snapper. So I just ended up going there. And when I surfed there, I got seen by Dave Davidson that had the Quicksilver Surf School there. And I wanted to get a few lessons with him. And he just saw the level I had and was pretty surprised and amazed. So he just called the Quicksilver guys to look after me. And there were Stephen Bell that was there, and there was Spencer Hargrave as well, and a few other guys.
Yep.
And each day, one of them was watching me for an hour. And every day was a different guy, but I didn't know they were Quicksilver guys. So after a week with them in Australia, surfing every day, they end up getting me on the team. So I got on the Quicksilver team in Australia, and they invite me at the Quicksilver barbecue in Snapper with the whole team, and I didn't know anybody. And I just ended up arriving there at 11 and see everyone. And there was Jeremy, there was Anna Ryu, Fredo, there was a couple Aussie guys, there was Julian, and I was just like, I was just with my eyes all open, like, whoa, this is crazy. So this is the first time I met Jeremy, which was pretty funny because I met him in Australia out of nowhere. and then so we got close for a few years, but then he was just doing his things and I was just following from distance. And Johanne was a bit different because we grew up together and surfed for years in Réunion together. And then in France, the place she bought was next to mine as well. So we were almost neighbor in France. So we always been close for like 10, 15 years. Yeah. Always following each other. So it's pretty funny.
Well, that is really cool. I want to go back to the Australia tryout week though, because So how old are you at this point when you're in?
I was 11
when you're in Australia. Okay, so you said 11. Excuse me. So you're 11 years old. You watch Montage and Fanning the Fire. You say, "Mom and Dad, I want to go to the Gold Coast." You want to get some lessons from the surf school. The guy's like, "This kid's really good." And then all of a sudden, you're turning up every day and surfing for an hour, and these random guys are watching you for an. Did you know what it was for? You said you didn't know they were from Quiksilver, but did you?
No.
Did it feel like a tryout? What were you thinking?
No, not at all. Because I was asking for surf lesson, and obviously I didn't know, but Dave Davidson was training some Quicksilver kids as well. They were like 15, 16 years old, but they were from Europe, from England and other places. But I didn't know. Right. I was just showing at the same time because he was saying that our lesson is at 6 a.m. Just come and we surf and we train. So I was doing this surf lesson training every day kind of program, which was super cool. And I just didn't know the whole week. And just random guys were coming. And I was like, I didn't care. I just surfed. And my parents didn't even know as well. They was just like letting me surf, and so it was pretty crazy.
You just probably like, wow, this Dave Davidson's got a lot of teachers. Look at all these guys turning up.
yeah. I mean, we just didn't know. I mean, maybe it was just local talking to him or whatever, and it was just the whole Quicksilver guys. That's pretty crazy. So when you go to the barbecue and you finally meet Jeremy Flores, was he surprised that you were from Réunion Island too? Did he say anything? What was that like? Yeah, it was weird. I mean, I don't remember what he says, but I just remember his dad was super surprised, like how did you guys meet him? Like he's from Réunion. What's going on here? Like he was a bit surprised, but I
just signed up for a lesson, man. I don't know. Yeah.
I just didn't remember much about it, but I just remember that moment where he was just surprised, like, oh, I didn't know there was kids from Réunion that was here. So it was pretty funny.
Yeah. That is funny. And obviously, geez, that relationship with Quiksilver at the time, you know, they're doing the Young Guns trips and they're sponsoring all this talent. You mentioned Stephen Bell, who is an institution unto himself, you know, Australian living in Europe and created this massive infrastructure and has identified so much talent. Like, that must have been transformative for you in your career, signing with that program and getting to travel and getting, you know, all the training, right, at that point in your career.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Belly was my manager, and he just put me on the path to get to the World Championship Tour, pretty much. I mean, like, put me on the Young Guns trip, get me to places with Dane and Kelly to watch them. I was with them in Portugal, in JB, watched them on the city. So in Hawaii as well. So all these things, like going on trips with all the team, going to Chile and Panama and everywhere to surf crazy waves. So all those programs and all the good coach they had also, like Snake, Tom Carroll, they had Martin Porto, all those guys that have so much knowledge and good advice to give to everyone. So it was like a really good thing as a young guys to get with they had a big team as well. So it was really cool, like very international, with a lot of kids from Australia, America, but as well from Europe. We had a really good Europe team, and especially with Pierre, making sure we had like a good Europe team. So back then was like pretty cool to grow up into that environment. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because I am curious, because you were featured in Young Guns, and there's only so many spots on those trips, right? And in those programs, and as you said, like, the team was huge. Like, they had, you know, like outside of Europe, well, they had like Leonardo Fioravanti inside of Europe, but then Kanoe Igarashi, they had Mikey Wright, they had Jack Robinson, and then just dozens and dozens of high level talent around the world. Did it feel competitive inside the Quiksilver team for you, where you're like, I have to do better than this kid, or I have to do better than that? Because it's still quite impressive that you were able to make it onto those programs given the level of talent on the team.
Yeah, I mean, it was always competitive, but it was like each contest I was just winning everyone, every contest, every free serves, and I just end up being there because I was like as good as all those kids, and it was pretty crazy because we were all competitive together, but at the same time we just wanted to do the best clips for the movies and then show the best surfing, and we were just all friends as well. So it was a little bit of everything that mixed up this mentality to push each other. But it was pretty cool. I mean, they did one trip to my home in Réunion as well with the whole team, and they were all in my pool. So it was pretty crazy. When I think back then, I had Canoa, Jack Robinson, Leo, Mickey Wright, all in my pool, Matt Benning. There was Balaram Stack. I mean, we had a good, crazy team. We had a good team. It was pretty good.
Yeah. And so that's great. That obviously amplifies the intensity of your trajectory as a professional surfer. You win the World Junior Championships in 2009, and then you go on to the qualifying series. And I know we talked about this a little bit in the first segment, but to go a little bit deeper, you know, you are an adult now, you're filled out, you're lean, but you're, you know, very strong. I remember when you won the World Juniors, I'm like, this kid's pretty lean. He's a small guy. Of course, you know, but that, like, who is it? Like everyone's growing up and you're like, I'm a kid. What do you want me to do? Did you, I know. Were you aware of that when you were on the qualifying series facing, you know, 25-year-old, 30-year-old men and going like, man, maybe I'm a little faster. Maybe I've got airs and stuff that they don't have, but these guys are stronger than me, and that's hard.
Yeah. And well, when when I started the QS, I didn't know what to expect. So I was like, let's see. And I put no pressure and I see how I'm going to do it. And then first event I did right after the World Juniors. The first QS was a cold water in Tasmania. And I went there and I got to the quarters. And there was like 6 foot, perfect right. And I was just like laying carbs, doing things clean and right. And I was getting scores and I just like make it to the quarters. And I was like, whoa, maybe I'm going to make it like this.
No problem.
So I did, no problem. And then from there, I start to every contest. Boom, first round, second round, first round, second round. And I just like didn't expect it. And I just like slowly realized what was missing to my surfing in terms of physical condition and all the other parts that I was a bit missing in my surfing. So I was very technical, but it wasn't a technical surfing that put my power out. It was just all technical and tricks, but was like a little bit too kids surfing in a way. So I needed to improve all these parts to try to make it happen. And then obviously I did a lot of work to get there. And I had to change my board equipment as well, because I could surf really good in a 5 foot days, in a 6 foot surf, because that's what I grew up in Réunion, and I had the line and the surfing, and I can surf in any condition. That's not a problem. But to get scores and to be able to beat the best guys in every condition, I didn't have the best material to do it all the time. So it took me a while to understand it as well. Like, I thought like the conditions were limiting my surfing because the conditions were bad. And I didn't understand that with other board, I could push my surfing in limited condition. So all these elements took me a while to get the best out of me each time. So
that makes sense. Now, when you talk about your physical conditioning, when you're saying I gotta change these parts of my surfing, how did you go about that? Is it diet? Is it weight training? You know, did you try some things that didn't work? And like, what was it for you that you started working on?
Yeah. So when I was 18, and so as you say, when I won, I was very small, and I slowly start to grow up a little bit more. So when I was around 18, I start to be a little bit more, I would say, higher. And I start to just lift weight and put a lot of time in the gym for 2 years. 2 years, I was training just very hard physically. And I always try to watch out on my diet, but I was not like very specific on the diet, but I always be careful anyway, but I'm not like a very psychopath about it. But so I did a lot of weight training just to get my physical condition better. And then from there, when I start around 20, that's where I just work a lot more on my surfing aspect. Like, okay, now I got the physical, the surfing, everything. Now how I put it all together to start to win and do better things. And I slowly start to clump the ranking back, get my confidence back, my tactic, my mental part. Yeah. And that's where are the years that I got close to qualify, like 2014, 15, 16. That's how the years that I almost done it.
Right. Yeah. And I think it was 2015 was correct me if I'm wrong, but that was your final year with Quiksilver. So signed when you were 11, you know, won the World Juniors, did several years on the QS. And for a young man, right, signing with a company at 11 and having all those opportunities that you talked about, it feels like Quiksilver is almost part of your identity because it's happening at an important time in your life. You know, when that relationship ended in 2015, was that difficult for you? You know, or did you understand why? Yeah,
no, it was a heartbreaker. Obviously, even the way they did it was pretty much, okay, we are going bad, the company is going bad, and we have financial issues. So it's not nothing personal, it's just numbers. So we just like taking this out. And I was like, whoa, like, I was like thinking we are blowing up like 12 years of relationship, working hard, going somewhere, just because it's a line that you want to like shut down. And I was like a bit like, whoa, like, but the people that came up and did this were not the one that's been there for 12 years. So I was just against new guys that have a different opinion, and they were just like, whatever, took this out. So it was a heartbreaker the way it happened. And it just took me a while to just stand up back from there. But especially after it, when you try to talk to the whole other brand and the surfing world, and they are all a little bit like, oh, maybe if Quiksilver put him down, maybe there's a reason or whatever, you know, or they are thinking maybe your time is out. So all this kind of thing is like messed me around for 2 years to try to get it. Like, I mean, I took 2 years to have another sponsor and find my new one that kind of saved my career as well. But it's it takes on the mind for sure.
Of course, you know, and it's, I mean, you obviously weren't the only one. Like Quiksilver had a very difficult time. I mean, arguably they're still having a very difficult time, but certainly had a very difficult time in that window. And you weren't the only one that was being cut. And as you mentioned, it's the people who had set up all these programs were no longer there, and the company was kind of in the hands of different people. And it is a bummer because I've heard that from so many people where it wasn't even a conversation of, okay, so maybe our arrangement isn't working out, but like, can we talk about making it better? Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. I think a lot of people I've heard, they just went, no conversation. They're just like, nope, you're gone, we're moving on. And, exactly. And as you said, it plays on your mind because you go like, well, am I not good enough? No one's approaching me. I'm winning these events, or I'm still surfing really well. It's tough. And now you have a great relationship by all accounts with Deeply. But that happened after a couple of years of having to do it on your own, isn't that right? Yeah, I did 2 years on my own, and so it's what was pretty crazy because I was getting there and I was thinking we gonna talk, and it was just a no conversation, and that's what was pretty crazy. And obviously, you try to like rebound from that and still like fight hard, and then you start to see everything wrong in the surfing world. And I was seeing like the judging bad, the surf world bad. I was seeing like the media was focusing on all the international and not the French or the Europe guy. So I was seeing everything wrong because of like few things, like, you know, they get into your mind and you start to see like the when you see the glass is empty or half empty or half full, you know, you see you see the wrong side. So I was kind of like in this situation where everything was dark, and it took me like a few moments to just like settle back and realize like what I'm doing surfing for, what I want to get on tour for. Is it for a surf brand or is it for myself because I'm just enjoying surfing and it's something I'm dreaming of? And once I just settle all this back, I just like got the love to just compete, surf, get on tour because I want to surf perfect wave with no one out. And I'm dreaming of winning a world title since I'm a young age. And that's what I'm just doing, all those things, and that put me back on the track to work even harder. And I saw like maybe I was just not good enough yet, and I need to work much harder than what I did. And it put me there. And I think from there, I start to work better on my boards, work better on my surfing. It brings the sponsor back. I got support from Deeply and other brand, and from there, I start to everything got back together, and I slowly get back, and I got here. Well, and I mean, I will take my WSL hat off for a moment and just talk about surfing as a fan. And I think, competition surfing it's not perfect, but the thing I love about it as a fan is it's objective in the sense of, hey, I had to watch that person surf in the live arena against that person, and that person was better, and it kind of cuts through a lot of the marketing hype and bullshit, whether it's the industry or magazines or social media, whatever it is, it's like all that's fine. And I get it. And I like that stuff too. But it's like for someone like yourself who maybe had a high powered sponsor, then didn't have any support, it doesn't mean you're not good enough, because you could still go out and compete and beat people, And so I think as hard as that may have been for you mentally, you can still say, I'm still good. Like, I'm still better than these people. And I'm just going to keep working on it, and support will come along. And I do think that that's one of the best things about competition surfing is that there's nowhere to hide, where it's like you have to do it in the live arena. And that's a real, as true a measurement of how you surf as really anything.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because it's extremely hard to perform almost at your best every single time in the condition we have, but at the same time it puts your best mental and hurts out of everything, because you have to put everything together to make it happen. And in a way, the competition is beautiful because it just push everyone to do to bring your A game all the time. And so there's nowhere to hide. And I felt like the only way I could do it, when I was watching myself and I was starting to have all this negative thought, I was like, maybe I'm just not bringing something different than the others. Maybe I'm just like surfing the same. No one is surfing the same, but sometimes people are having the same sort of lines, and it's a bit repetition. And it's almost in a way like, if this guy is doing the same as this guy, what makes him better? Like, it's almost the same, and we already have this guy doing it. So I was more like thinking, maybe I just need to bring something different. So I start to work more on different things that maybe it's more pleased to the eye. So I was like, okay, I have a different bottom turn than the others. I'm going to rock a little bit better on this line, and I'm going to try to work on different turns or different grabs and all this kind of thing, and try to like get like a little bit attention from different things. And I felt like getting there in a competition way, where it was all because of the competition. I started to look this way, because I was like, we are comparing these guys to me, so how do I get on a different line instead of always doing the same? And it's all about the little different, which is hard to get, as you say, sometime on a live moment.
Right.
So I just like look it differently, and from there it helped me to work a lot of things like to get better.
Yeah.
And that's from competition.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. Well, we're going to take one more quick break before our final segment, and we'll be right back. So we talked about it. We are approaching the start of your rookie season. The first event is the Billabong Pro Pipeline. Pipeline is a wave that you're no stranger to. But one thing I did want to talk about is I think the perception of European surfers has been unfair for a long time. And I say that like Jeremy Flores qualifies, Johanne Defay qualifies, Mickey Picon qualifies, Thiago Parish. And I think people in America, people in Australia, in Australia, in America, and Hawaii, some people had the perception that like, well, Europe is beach breaks. Those are beach break surfers. They qualified on the QS. Those are beach breaks. But there are heavy, heavy waves in Europe, and kind of, I won't say Hawaii powered waves, but very similar when you talk about the Canaries, when you talk about Madeira, and I think all those surfers we listed, but in particular, Jeremy Flores and Johanne Defay prove themselves to be standouts in really heavy reef breaks, whether it's pipe, chopu, G-Land, Fiji, whatever it is. And I think they really changed the way people think about European surfers. And, even having the pleasure of watching you surf over the last several years, whether it's in contests or in video clips, you surf some heavy waves, man. So I say all that to get your perspective on what do you think of that, number one? And then number two, how prepared do you feel personally for the first event at Pipeline?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for Pipe. This is a dream event. I feel like it's strange because in Europe, the swells in the winter are very heavy, a lot heavier than what we get in the summer or in the autumn. And we get visit from all over the world pretty much in that time of the year. So people don't really know what winter is. But on the winter, when it gets really, really cold and you have all this weight of the wetsuit, which is one thing, but the power of the wave that hit you, it's much stronger. So it felt like we are a little bit more unexpected on the big stage because they don't realize what it is to surf really cold, heavy waves. It's sometimes a lot scarier than reef, because on the reef side, you have all these, you can go on the sideway, on the channels.
Right.
You're on the board short, the waves are heavy, but in a way, it's still like different. I mean, when I surf Bali and all the other places, a lot of places when I go, I just don't feel like it's that much of a deal. But it's more like where I grew up. Réunion has a lot of heavy reef as well and very shallow. Like I'm not afraid of shallow reef. I grew up having to deal going over the reef and getting scar all the time, hitting my fins. So I feel like we are not scared of dead bottoms or hitting head first and all this kind of thing. So I think we don't have this. We have this image of perfect beach break in Europe because of France being so perfect on the perfect days. But when you're from Europe, what we always do on the winter is we move every single week or 2 weeks to a swell somewhere. And because France is not going to be perfect for a month in a row, it's going to be perfect for 2 days in 1 month. And all the other days are going to be straight onshore, raining, shitty surf, the worst thing. So the first thing you do is look at the map and where I'm going for 3 days or 4 days. Because it's so close, it's easy, it's cheap. And we just go Canaries for a week and go there for a surf trip. Then we go Morocco. Then we go Portugal. Then sometime we can go Scotland on the Swear or Ireland. And we go to all those places so easily and so quickly that we surfed a lot of different type of condition. So it's like almost traveling to Australia all year long. You're going to Snapper, or you're from Snapper, Gold Coast, and then you're flying to Margaret, and you're going to score big slabs. And then you're going to Bells, and you just do carves. And it's like doing that, but every week on the winter of 3 months. So all these places, and even Mundaka is close to where I live. So I drive to Mundaka each time there's a swell. So it's a 2-hour drive. So every time there's a swell to Mundaka, I'm just driving. If I'm in Europe, I'm just driving there. So you have all these places that have a lot of potential that we just surf that is super easy. So I think we are a little bit unexpected on the big surf because we all picture just the beach break things. But we just surf different waves all the time.
Yeah. Well, and that, I'd imagine, it must give you a pretty high degree of confidence because, as of the last couple of years, there's the mid-season relegation after Championship Tour event number 5, right? So there's Pipeline, Sunset Beach, Super Tubos in Portugal, Bells Beach, and then Margaret River. All pretty different waves, none of which you would necessarily consider playful waves. They're all kind of serious or sort of heavy water waves, right? How do you feel about those first 5 events? Like, which ones are you looking forward to the most? Which ones, if there are any, are you kind of saying, I'm a little bit concerned about that one? And then the way you approach those first 5 events, are you thinking about the relegation, or are you just not trying to think about it and just surf your best?
Yeah. So I'm gonna answer first the first question. So the one I'm looking the most for is Pipeline first and Portugal. It's mostly because it's gonna be bar events. I mean, we can get bars in Margaret and Sunset as well, but it's a little bit less like for sure. But obviously, Pipe and Super Turbo should be like bar events. So I'm pretty excited about that because we don't get much chance to get bar events. And I'm very excited about this, especially Pipe, because it's such a mythical place and you don't get the chance to surf it with only 2 guys in the water. So this is very special. And obviously the cut is a high pressure thing, but what I really like about it, like coming as a rookie, like I have less experience than all the other guys, but everyone is scared about the cut. So that pressure can equal everyone going in the water. So this is pretty cool, actually. I mean, it's not an advantage for me, but I have nothing to lose. I'm just new on tour. And it's almost like they are scared to lose their spot because of the cut. And I'm here to get the spot. So I'm not I'm not stressing about the cut. I'm just here to perform and surf. And I'm going to check all the places. And I've been to all the places, so I know what to expect everywhere. And I just want to surf my best and be smart in the water.
Makes sense. You mentioned, your partnership with Deeply. We love talking about surfboards on this podcast, and you are part of the Channel Islands program. You're at Channel Islands Surfboards. That is such a long, historic kind of company that's had maybe arguably many more world champions than any other board builder in history. But in the last few years, they've been rebuilding their program. They've had some people leave. They've had some people retire from the CT. And you're kind of part of this new push with Channel Islands. And tell us a little bit about that. When did you start working with them? What kind of models have you been riding? And what are you looking to carry into the first few events this year?
Yeah, so it's really cool. The CI family is pretty amazing. And I started to work with them, I think it was 2017. So I was surfing before. I was with Euroglass with Christian Bradley, and I was riding my boards. And then half of the years, I was like feeling like something was wrong, and I started to look at other boards just to try it out. And I end up like finding some CI boards, and I just fell in love straight on. And I just slowly asked them to make a few boards, and every time I was getting a board, every board was even better. So I was like just in this feeling of, when you get, everyone get a new board, gets so exciting. And I was having those crazy feeling like, oh, I'm getting exciting. And especially when it's Merrick, which is, I feel it's like the most prestige surf brand in the world. And I end up going to the factory to meet the guys and try to see if they were okay to make my orders and my boards. And I just bought some boards from there, and I bought one of Sage Ericsson boards that was there, and I just loved it. And it felt like my surfing just stepped up like straight away when I had that board. And I had a lot of result, and he had a crazy story about these boards being Sage, and I surfed with it. And then since this, I just been riding the same model, which is the Fred Robo. And it's been just going like really good in all kind of conditions, especially on the QS condition.
Right.
Right now, I'm just working on different rocker for the city because it's obviously different waves. I've been riding a lot of the Proton on the barrel side in Europe. So I was expecting to surf this rocker a little bit, and I've been trying a little bit of their CI Pro and some other Rock 15 as well. So right now I'm more in like testing progress as well. So I'm gonna keep up the rocker that I love, but at the same time I'm trying a few things just before the year start, and maybe during the year I'm gonna keep trying a few things. So it's pretty cool to be part of it. And I just look at Dane and Kelly, my favorite surfer, and Tom Curran, and knowing they have this equipment, and I'm just riding. I mean, Kelly, I think, won a lot of events with the Fred Robles model. So I was like, okay, this is Kelly's boards. I mean, there's nothing better than that, I guess. I was like, maybe there's nothing better
than
that.
Worked for him, yeah.
I mean, it worked for him. Why not for me? I mean, so it was pretty cool.
I like the logic. You know, a month ago, or just about, Paul Evans wrote in Stab a very cool article on you, and it closed with him saying, you know, Max can't make up for lost time or right past wrongs, but having something of a score to settle, even with himself, can be a canny place from which to draw fire. And he quotes you as saying, most of all, I just want to show that I should have been there all along. Do you obviously there's probably part of you that wishes you'd qualified earlier, but you know, all that motivation of the 10-year buildup on the qualifying series and Challenger series to get here, do you feel that that's made you a stronger surfer now that you're on the championship tour?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think surfing is a sport where experience is a huge factor. And it's not only about, I would say, its experience, but I would say more surfing experience. Like each time you're going in the water, you're experimenting something different. And it feels like the more condition you surf, the more prepared you can adapt and use the right boards, the right maneuvers, and all these kind of details. And I feel like nowadays I'm more experienced and prepared to surf everything than I was when I was younger, where it could be more like I surf a 10-foot pipe and I'd be surprised like which wave to choose and all these kind of things, where to sit and all that, where I just face 10-foot pipe like a couple times, so I know what to expect, I know what to do, and I know. So it's completely different, and it's the same like each location and everywhere I go. So I feel a lot more prepared now than what I could ever be before. And especially I feel a lot better on the 8 space than when I was younger. I feel a lot better.
I love it. Well, we did reach out to our social media community, people who follow us at the Lineup Pod on Instagram for questions. We got a bunch back. We've narrowed it down to three for you.
Okay, nice.
The first question we have is from, it would save some time, the first question we have is from @HenLoveZCJ, who asks, what is the best animal experience you've had with surfing?
The best animal? I met dolphin, turtle. I don't know. I would say dolphin for sure. I mean, especially in Australia.
It's nice. I mean, this is my sub question. This isn't from the Instagram community, but having been around the world and obviously surfing in Reunion, have you had a lot of experiences with sharks in the water?
No, not at all. I mean, I'm touching my wood table. I'm touching my wood table right now, but I hope I don't.
Yeah.
I hope I will never face one. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I could have, but it just never happened. But yeah, not at all.
All right.
I mean,
Next question. Oh, it's all right. Next question is from DanJC264, who asks, is being the only French male competitor currently on the championship tour more exciting or more scary?
More exciting, for sure. I mean, I wish I was not the only one, but it is how it is. But with the Olympics and all this, it's definitely exciting to be representing France and trying to be on the top of the map for France and everyone. So it's going to be really cool. I think the whole country and even Réunion Island, the whole island is behind me, and it's going to be very exciting. So it's more exciting.
Next question, the last question that we've pulled from our Instagram community is from @CL4YFish, who asks, it says, firstly, congrats. What specific goals do you have for your rookie year on the championship tour?
It's funny because I didn't put any goals especially, but I try to picture myself to make a semis or a final in one of the first 5 events, and then try to, if I can finish the year in top 15, that'd be great. But we'll see, whatever happens. I just want to surf well. That's the main thing. Show my best.
It's a good goal.
What I can really do.
That's a good goal.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, thank you to the Instagram community for those questions. We are now down to our final segment. It is the lightning round. So here are 10 questions for you to answer as quickly as you can. First question. If you could only have one board setup for the rest of your life, single fin, twin fin, thruster, quad, bonzer, or finless, which would you choose?
Thruster.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Burrito or pizza?
Pizza.
Last book you read?
Sorry?
Last book you read?
Oh, last book I read. It's Tony Parker. The title I don't remember. It's about him. This is bio.
Cool. Best surf film ever?
First chapter of Dan Reynolds.
Good one. What is one wave you never have to go back to?
It's a hard one. This couple. Wow. Sorry, I missed it.
You don't have to name if you don't want to. You could just say, hey, I've got a
Yeah.
couple. I don't want to name them.
I got a couple. Just anywhere where it's flat.
Fair. Okay, if you only get to surf one wave for the rest of your life, where would it be?
Chupo.
Best person to share a lineup with?
My mates. My friends.
Worst person to share a lineup with?
Oh. Anyone's snaking and hungry in the water.
Good one. All right, last one. Finish this sentence. I will next achieve a state of happiness by...
By surfing.
I love it. Maxime Huscenot, thank you so much for coming on the lineup for our first episode of 2023. Congratulations on qualifying. I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. And safe travels between now and Hawaii. And I'll see you on the rock, man.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everyone, to have me and everyone listening. everyone asking on Instagram question and following me. And I hope to go show you guys all my best and make a good show for everyone. And thanks for your time.